Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody, let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there, enjoying your day, making it wonderful, making it positive. For those of y'all who are already wrapping up your day, who are watching on the other side of the pond, in the many other corners of the world, hopefully you guys have ended or wrapping up your day in a positive, very, very positive way. We got some new information here. We got something I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm bringing on somebody very special on with us today, Nerdy Addict. And I'm really looking forward to having him on in just a little bit. But nonetheless, we do need to talk about a few things. There's been some developing information revolving around Bryan Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor, and Xana Kernodle's mother, Kara. So we got some things to talk about. I mean, she's named Kara Kernodle in this document, but she has a different last name. So it's very interesting. But other than that, we're going to be talking about all this stuff. She did an interview recently, and we're going to be talking about this because that was late last night, and didn't have a chance to talk to you about it last night because yesterday was a long day of shows. So today, much lighter, but definitely wanted to have one big topic for you guys to talk to discuss with you guys about. All right. So before we get into everything, before we start rocking and rolling and all that stuff, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. And do not forget to crush that subscribe button. Send those likes, by the way, past 300 likes as you guys start to file in. Okay. It's very interesting, this interview. We're going to be watching it together as a family and all that as well. Okay. And of course, one more time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because you know your boy's working hard out here in these streets to give you guys the conversations and the discussions that you need for the day. All right. And I see you guys coming in with all your stuff. Hello from Austria. Austria is in the house. You know what I mean? By all means, please comment in the family chat. Let me know where you guys are coming in from. Okay. I see Rob Slack is already using the members emojis that are already uploaded right now. I do appreciate that. By all means, become a member. Consider becoming a member today by hitting that join button. There's a bunch of really cool things that are starting to come down the pipeline for members only, like these really dope emojis that you guys are sharing in the YouTube chat, family chat. So anyway, I see everybody in here. Austria, Finland, Florida, Texas, Scotland, Detroit, Connecticut, Northern Nevada, Ohio, Minnesota. I mean, everyone's out here, okay? This is really, really amazing. Philippines. Wow. The Philippines, y'all. So please, Portugal, the UK. I mean, it's really dope, okay? Utah, Florida, and Massachusetts, all over the place, y'all. Colorado, I appreciate it, okay? So real quick, Kimberly in Japan, who's actually in Japan right now, which is dope as hell. Thank you for the 190 yen. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super sticker, okay? So, again, huge international crowd. Absolutely. You know, we international, baby, okay? Even Roberta, all the way in the Facebook streets, is saying New York City. Gotta love that. All over the place, Ray. Okay? We're getting love all over the world, all right? And that's really, really amazing. It's wild, okay? Like I said, put out a hoodie and a tracksuit order filled out in the Czech Republic. It's been insane, okay? So I do appreciate it. But again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got to get into some things, y'all, okay? And of course, Nerd's originally from Singapore, but she's in the U.S. One of our mods, one of our amazing, one of the many amazing mods that we have on this show. Okay. But anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody. Appreciate all y'all from Stars Above. Just said she's watching from the Caribbean. I mean, it's insane. Okay, absolutely insane. Croatia. I think somebody said that somewhere. That's insane. That's insane. I'm sorry. It's just so wild to hear how, man, it's just dope. Okay, we just international, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful feeling. Anyway. I'm still getting my coffee in for the day. It's been a very crazy day and busy day for myself. And today, this ain't even my whole day, right? And I'm sure for a lot of you hustlers out here, your day has just started. It may not even ended yet. You know what I mean? So anyway, as we know, all right, we got a lot to talk about because I had two separate interviews yesterday on my show. I had attorney Andrea Burkhart on a show, and then literally about an hour and a half later, I had another conversation with former FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer live on the show. Those are both live shows, and we talked about in those two interviews, I had the same topic sprinkled in to our conversation, and it was mainly revolving around public defender Ann Taylor and her representing right now. She's representing Bryan Kohberger. In the past, she was also representing Xana Kernodle's mother, Kara Kernodle. All right, she was also representing her in a trial for drug charges. Okay, then she went ahead, and I'll show you guys this too, just real quick. She went on to basically request to switch out so that she didn't have to represent Kara Kernodle anymore. And as you can see right here, it says, notice is hereby given that Kara Denise Kernodle's attorney of record is hereby changed. The withdrawing attorney is Ann C. Taylor, public defender, and the new attorney and substitution of record is now going to be Christopher D. Schwartz. Okay. And then obviously they're like, we're just letting you know that the process has been served. And that the above named defendant shall be served upon, will be represented by Christopher Schwartz. Okay. Attorney at law. All right. So very typical stuff. If you're switching out and changing your changing representation, right? When a lawyer has something else that happens or something like that. It's like we've understood from Andrea Burkhart and from other law tubers that are out here that have explained this. This is very typical stuff. It's very standard. It's nothing weird or strange or off kilter about it. Okay. But Jennifer Coffin-Daffer had a little bit of pushback revolving around this particular situation. She felt that there has been a lot of question about conflict of interest, okay, and it revolving around her representing the man who allegedly unalived the another client of hers daughter. All right. Now, obviously, there's a lot of pushback. Some people say that this is conflict of interest. Some people say it's not. Some people are saying that actually Ann Taylor should be out of this situation altogether, shouldn't be involved in this at all, shouldn't even be representing Bryan Kohberger at all. They should be finding another attorney that has no connections with anyone within the family of any of these victims at all. And then some other people say, hey, no, this should be totally fine. There is no conflict of interest. And what happened here is totally fine. This change of representation is totally fine. So I still got a lot of questions because within those two interviews, that went It literally was like back to back. One person said it's totally fine and this is totally normal. Another person said this is not totally fine and this is not totally normal. So I am incredibly vexed right now. It's a very perplexing situation because it's like, well, I can see one side of the argument, but then I can see the other side of the argument as well. So we have that piece, which we are going to be talking about here shortly. But then we get an interview from, then we get an interview from Xana Kernodle's mother. She gets an exclusive interview. And what's interesting about this is that, of course, we're going to be looking at the interviews themselves, but I'm just pulling up a quick headline here. But it says that according to the mother, she felt betrayed. She felt betrayed that they switched. She even says, and she quotes, "I trusted her." So let's take a look at this really, really quick. The lawyer defending accused unaliver, BK, once represented the mother of one, one of Kohberger's alleged victims in a switch up that left the grieving mom feeling betrayed. Court-appointed defense attorney Ann Taylor had counseled slain University of Idaho student Xana Kernodle's mother in an unrelated drug case when she suddenly withdrew her services on January 5th, court records show. The same day, BK, made his first court appearance in Idaho with Taylor representing him. And she says this, and of course, we're going to be looking at the videos themselves, but she says, "I'm heartbroken because I trusted her." All right, this is what Kara Northington, not Kernodle, told News Nation's Ashley Banfield in a Wednesday interview yesterday. Late last night, she had this interview. All right. So apparently she said, Ann Taylor pretended that she was wanting to help me, and to find out that she's not representing me or that she's representing him, I can't even convey how betrayed I feel, said Northington. Now, what's interesting is it's one thing, don't get me wrong, it's one thing to hear experts, to hear attorneys come in here and say their piece and all that, right? It's another thing as well. It's one thing as well to hear other legal experts out here putting in their 2 cents, putting in what they thought is okay and what's not okay, and what's conflict of interest and what's not, what's ethical, what's unethical, so on and so forth. But it's another when you actually have the client speaking up and saying, "Hey, I didn't even know this was going to happen." Now, mind you, in our interview with Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, we found out that Ann Taylor was representing Kara Northington for years. This is somebody who has defended her multiple times, allegedly, since 2017. Them some years, y'all. So, of course, when she gets in trouble, she's about to get taken into court, so on and so forth. And you think you're going to be getting your regular staple go-to lawyer that's going to represent you, only to find out that she's not representing you anymore. Yeah, I could see somebody being fairly upset about that. I could see somebody being angry and feeling this feeling of betrayal, right? There's even information saying that something along the lines of signing away her power of attorney over to Ann Taylor. I mean, this is somebody who has had full-on trust into her public defender, into her lawyer, okay? But let's continue here real quick. So we already know that she's the chief. She is chief of the public defender's office. Okay, so she was an attorney for Northington or Kara in at least 2 cases. All right. Most recently, she was defending Northington or Kara after the mother was arrested and hit with drug possession charges on November 19th, 6 days after her daughter and three others were unalived, allegedly by Ann Taylor's current client. She dropped the case when she was appointed by a judge to represent Kohberger. And of course, people have been questioning like crazy. Is this something that she went over to the judge and just did a little bit of a nudge, like, hey, why don't you hook me up, bro? You know what I mean? Let me take this case. Give this to somebody else. Let me take this case. But you also heard as well that she's one of the only death penalty certified attorneys in that county that can properly represent Bryan Kohberger. So the only question I still ask is, how is this conflict of interest or not? Well, before we jump into everything and before we get into that conversation, I want to bring on someone who's been on the show for a bunch of times. We haven't had him on in a while, but please welcome our good friend of the show, Nerdy Addict. What's up, man? You're muted. I'm trying to. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Pascal?
I am good. How you living, bro?
I'm living busy, busy as you, hustling and keeping up with all these various cases, but doing well.
Yes. So thank you so much for being on here, man. It's nice to see your face this time. Usually it's just the avatar and everything. But let me ask you something real quick before we go into these the interviews and check out these this conversation. What are your thoughts on the, not on Kara, because we're going to talk about Kara and and of course within this whole interview here shortly, but what are your thoughts on this whole switcheroo that happened between Kara and Bryan Kohberger? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's interesting that the people sort of commenting on this from the legal landscape, right? All these news agencies have these ex-law enforcement. Ex-law enforcement doesn't deal with public defenders, right? They're dealing with the prosecution side. Mm-hmm. So this is an area that unfortunately I have some experience with. I've had a number of public defenders throughout my life, and this is nothing abnormal, right? If Bryan Kohberger wasn't given the best attorney, there'd be mistrials down the road. There'd be problems with that. And so I don't see anything abnormal with this. I see a document that follows procedure. And not for nothing, being on that side of things, I call BS on not being notified, right? These things that occur have to happen with a judge's approval. Oftentimes, way too much communication occurs on these cases. So it may be an error, right? It may be an email that you had registered with the system, a mailing address where you didn't get the letter, a phone call you didn't take. But I do believe that the proper protocol was followed here.
So proper protocol was followed here. So nothing unethical, right? Nothing. Well,
nothing unethical. I mean, I think.
But what I mean is like they went through they did the proper. They went through the red tape. They did exactly what they needed to do so that they can move, switch Kara to somebody else, and of course for Ann to take over this particular trial, right?
Correct, and it's important for your viewers to know that the attorney here, the defense attorney, is from like an hour and a half north of Latah County, right? They've gone to the extent of making sure that they reached out far out to make sure that they have the proper attorney to represent Kohberger. And as you alluded to, this woman has cases from 2017, I think over 40 cases, and she has an outstanding bench warrant for her arrest. You could feel empathy towards her situation, but also be logical about the circumstances. There's going to be a dozen public defenders that deal with drug cases day in and day out. These public defenders oftentimes have too large of a caseload. And so I don't think that this affects Xana Kernodle's mom, Kara.
Interesting. Because it does seem, at least in these interviews, these two clips that we do have out here, it does seem, at least to the general, like to the naked eye or whatever, that it does seem that she's a bit shocked. Obviously, she's saying betrayal. She's saying I trusted her. She's saying all these different things that make it very, it's eye opening. It's an eye opening reaction to this information, given the fact that even so, she didn't even know about this until she saw something on Reddit, I think she said. So it is kind of a tough blow, right? To hear that, oh, the person that I'm used to having represent me, that knows me well, that would fight for me passionately, I know her work kind of thing, is not representing me anymore now. This kind of sucks. What the hell?
Yeah, and I think I'm reminded that both Kohberger and Kara are afforded a right to legal counsel, right? And that legal
Yes.
counsel can sometimes be free and it can be private sometimes. They both have the choice if they don't like the legal counsel that's given to them for free by the American judicial system to go outside of that to raise GoFundMe dollars if they don't think their counsel is sufficient. Both of them have that right. And both of them have the right to publicly speak and say, I don't feel this is fair. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be committing crimes. If you're taking criminology classes, I think the first thing they tell you is have a good defense lawyer if you get into one of these
Right.
these predicaments, right? And that applies for both of them. You're
Yeah.
at a disadvantage in the system with a public defender either way.
And let's keep it straight funky though. Ann Taylor doesn't suck. Okay, she is a strong public defender. She is good at what she does. She has a track record of of making law enforcement crack. All right, cracking cases and exposing the real truth on things, especially if there's wrongdoing going on. So yeah, I could see Bryan Kohberger going, come on, come here. I know exactly who she is, or I know of her and she's damn good at what she does. So yeah, I want her on my team because I believe that I am innocent in this situation, and she's gonna poke holes with reasonable doubt all over the prosecution's narrative. So that's very interesting. Now, one thing though, this is a little bit off the reservation here in our conversation, but I haven't had you on I haven't had you on in a long time, and of course I haven't had you on since talking about this particular case, the mystery to the actual arrest, the whole nine. What are your thoughts on this situation? Where do you stand? Do you think that all roads are pointing towards him guilty, or you think this guy is innocent?
Well, I sort of have to think of the psychology behind people saying, "Look, there's a conflict of interest." What are they really saying in that? Because what does that mean, right? And I think from my purview, it's people maybe scared a little bit, maybe fearful that he does have such good counsel, and the affidavit isn't that strong. That's my opinion, right? What's not my opinion is that I've read a lot of different affidavits and warrants, starting with Fotis Dulos, and this affidavit is circumstantial at best. Anyone is free to drive around this country, whether they have cell phone pings or not. Look, in my heart, I think that this is their man. I think legally, looking at what they have, more importantly, what they don't have in these affidavits. Look, you have a 40-page document outlining to a judge why it's so important to get items from his apartment, and then you walk out of there with 10 items that are maybe possible hairs, questionable stains, nothing really substantial here. And I fear that from a legal perspective, this man was trained for this. He knew what he's doing, and he turned his phone off during certain aspects of this crime. I'm scared. I'm fearful that this is turning into a circus, and people pointing out these little nuances in the legal system, a legal system that they've never been a part of, right? It makes this a larger circus than what it needs to be. And that's where I am right now.
Interesting. Yeah, you know what? And I see your point. I mean, this has already turned into kind of a information circus for sure. Way even before he even got arrested. Let's keep it real. But I feel like that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles nowadays. Where it goes off into it goes it goes off the rails. 1 minute we're talking about facts and information that's given and exposed and revealed by law enforcement, and the next minute we have fake accounts, fake audio, almost to the point where deep fake records are being shown, so on and so forth, to the point where it just turns into a cluster F, and becomes absolutely wasteful. And then, of course, it ends up being, what can we believe? What can we trust? What can we believe? So on and so forth. But, with everything that we've been seeing so far, the evidence that they have against him so far, which to me still is not fully enough, but it does lean towards him guilty. Maybe it wasn't him putting his hands on these young students, but he was there. And I guess, now it's a matter of trying to prove that he actually was there, how to put him in that scene of the crime successfully. And I think that's the big problem. And of course, there's these theories, and I want to throw this to you too, because I want to hear your thoughts on this as well. There's obviously been rumors and stuff. Well, I don't know. People calling into shows. We could basically just say it is rumor for now, saying stuff about that house being a trap house, the house being a space to grab, to get the hookup, the plug, the link, whatever you guys call it. All right. What are your thoughts on that too? As far as that goes, the stories that we are hearing, is it 100%? Do you think it's true? Or do you think it's just another deep fake story that's being thrown out here? What are your thoughts?
I think it's like any other aspect of this case where it's a possibility, right? Um, we talk about speculation and opinions, and I think that's an opinion that may have some weight on it. You can't have a party with 150 people, college students specifically, without some type of party drugs, party favorites. And it's such a small area. Pullman and Moscow are so close together that there's probably only going to be a handful of people that do that. Now, it's interesting because obviously Kohberger has a history of addiction and drug use. We now have a link to one of the victims, to two parents that have charges, two or more parents actually now. And so it's just it could be a possibility. I think that, like you, everyone is speculating because we don't have that main piece that we need here, which is motive. Nobody has a motive. And I think instead of, people pulling and look, I get it. Xana, the interview with her mom gets clicks, it gets views. But there's more to this story. I think that's important. Pennsylvania hasn't released a warrant. Why? They have the most vested interest in this man. He's lived in their state the longest. I presume, like many others, that there may be other crimes that this individual has done. He's had a lifetime of behavioral health struggles, dark thoughts from an early age. And so without that motive piece, look, if there's motive here, this could be an isolated incident. If there's no motive or a partial motive that's so bizarre, then I'd imagine there's probably more crimes strewn out across the country at some point. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and what's interesting is what you're saying ain't wrong. I mean, there is. Let's be real, okay? Now, and of course, there's going to be pushback, so I'm going to say both sides here really quick. One, given the fact that there are some charges being done as far as some, parents with addiction, so on and so forth, being charged or having a past of addiction, right? Yes, it's very easy to sit here and say, "Oh, okay, Bryan Kohberger is always in recovery, right? He had a history with the H back in the day. and he's still battling with that every single day, because obviously it's an everyday thing. Then you have parents, parents of these kids that also have a history of addiction as well, maybe in that area as well. What are the chances of people in that small town, getting together or knowing each other because of their addictions, so on and so forth? That could possibly be there. There could be a connection there for sure. But then again, it could all just be coincidence as well, which of course we have to throw in that side of things too. It's very easy for us to sit here and go, oh yeah, because Xana's mother, has a past, past issues and past struggles with drugs. Oh yeah, then yeah, the house was a trap house. Absolutely. So this, that, and the third, and carry the one divisible by two. There you go. There's your sum. And it's kind of like, hey, that's not entirely fair because we don't know everything yet. Law enforcement hasn't given out any more information out here for us to be led in down that particular narrative. So why even run with it if we don't have the Carfax to back it up, right? At least that's just kind of how I feel. And I feel like I'm just echoing the same thing that you're saying. It's easy for us to speculate. Absolutely. But where's the proof to back it up, right? So, one, I'm going to, we got, of course, some things I wanted to show you guys. Obviously, we have the interviews here too. And of course, Nerdy, I appreciate you being here and being a part of the conversation. So we're going to get into this, hold on. Where did it go? I had it and it disappeared. Hold on, guys.
Pascal, while you're looking for that, I just want to say it's really important in these cases.
There have been.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We didn't get a chance, like you said, to talk about like the roommate situation,
yes,
and this situation. But look, you can have empathy towards one aspect or component of the case while feeling some type of way about other aspects, right? You can say I have empathy for Xana's mother as an addict, but I don't think it's right she's interviewing before turning herself into police with an active warrant. You can feel two different types of ways about a situation, and I feel like people have gotten to this. It's only this way. It's lateral, and if you feel this way, you can't cross over and feel 3 or 4 more thoughts about the situation, and that's wrong. You can have empathy towards a situation and still ask questions.
That is true. And of course, that is the other burning question, that because you did say, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, or we're getting ahead of the conversation, because I was going to be pulling up your tweet here in just a little bit. So I want to first, before we go into all that, I first want to pull up the interviews and talk about that. Of course, yes, there is something that is very interesting about this interview. Because there's still an active warrant out, correct? Is that what you just said, Nerdy?
She has a bench warrant from the 14th, correct?
Right. So there are people wondering if she's out on the run right now, because of the setup, because of what we see and all of that. I don't know about all that. Okay, and do we know her actual court date, her court appearance, when she's supposed to be in court?
Well, that's the problem. She missed her court appearance, and why the bench warrant was issued for her not appearing.
There it is. So now people are wondering if she's on the run from this, because I think she's looking at drug trafficking charges as well. So she's looking at some serious stuff. But let's take a look at this video. This is part 1 of the interview, because I definitely want you guys to see this as a family. I want to get your opinions on this. We're going to be cutting in and out of this because you know how it is, fair use and all that stuff. So we got to do that. Okay. And this is very interesting. Yes. Elba is saying something about a $50,000 bail. So if she's out on that and she still didn't show up to her the court appearance, that's not good. Let's keep it real. That's no bueno, right, Nerdy?
Not good, and that's probably why a lot of times criminals who know they have active warrants out and who are out on bond know that they have to come up with more bond money, right? That $50,000 is going to go up to $100,000, and she's going to have to prepare more money, and sometimes that's a delay in turning themselves in, et
Yeah.
cetera. So
It's no bueno, guys. It's no bueno. So please, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Don't forget to do that. Okay. Let's get it past 500 likes. That would really mean a lot. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Okay. Be great to have you part of the Pascal Show family. And of course, consider hitting that join button and supporting the channel if you'd like. Anyway, let's rock and roll with this. It's time to hear this out.
There have been conflicts of interest with attorneys for far less than this. I mean, let me give you an example. If you think that perhaps some point you want to divorce your spouse and you have a conversation with a couple of lawyers, your spouse can no longer retain any of those lawyers just because you had a conversation. So this woman, Kara Northington, whose daughter was violently murdered in Idaho, one of the Idaho Four, those 4 students killed in Moscow at the University of Idaho. She is now facing the reality that the person she trusted most with 4 of her cases is now representing her daughter's accused killer. Here's that conversation.
So, Kara, what was your first reaction when you learned that your former attorney is representing the man accused of killing your daughter?
I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken because I trusted her. She pretended that she was wanting to help me, and to find that out that she's representing him, I can't even convey how betrayed I feel.
Have you had a chance to speak with her about this?
No, I haven't spoken with her. I found out through a friend who found it on Reddit.
You found out through a friend through social media. You weren't notified by Ann Taylor, your attorney,
No.
herself?
Right now.
And have you tried to reach out to her?
No, I just found out today, literally. So, yeah.
So, I mean, just so many thoughts. It's so incredible that there is this connection. Are you going to try to fight this at all?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because as I understand it, this would require a waiver, something that you sign and that he would sign in order for her to go ahead and be able to do this legitimately. I can imagine the way your reaction is that you are not interested in signing a waiver to allow her to continue on.
Right, exactly. And I'd already given her power of attorney. I'd already signed over power of attorney so that she could help me with getting into rehab and whatnot. And so, I mean, I don't understand how she could do this. I don't understand what happens now. Does she still have power of attorney, or what goes on now?
Now, Nerdy, maybe you can explain or help explain a little bit about this this POA, this power of attorney situation. Why would she need power of attorney to go into rehab? Do you have any idea about that? And also, does she? To me, I don't know. She looks rough, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but she looks rough. But what are your thoughts on this POA situation?
I think so I'll speak on what I know about power of attorney, my own experience. I can't speak for every state. In Connecticut, one of my siblings is an addict and continuously relapsed to a point where she was being life starved to the hospital for alcohol and substance abuse. And so the process in Connecticut is that we as a family can say, look, this person is going to die. They're incapable of taking care of their own basic needs. We're finding her nude when we come over her house. She's not eating. She's going to die. And so you can apply for power of attorney. And oftentimes judges will give that over to the family. There was another case in Connecticut, Kyle, who went missing in New York. His family had power of attorney. It's for situations typically reserved for mental health status, and when an older person is incapable of making their own life decisions, power of attorney is important. Or if you trust someone in your life that you want to hand that power over to make decisions for you, that can be done too. But in
Right.
this case, think about what News Nation is saying. A person is so incapable of making their own decisions, a power of attorney had to be issued, and we're going to interview that person. And that's what a lot of people had an issue with, is that this is not a, look, I have empathy. This woman needs to go to rehab. I hope people raise money to do that in a way that's responsible, right? You don't want to just hand over money to an addict, but there's things here that just ain't right. And the other thing that I said on Spaces last night, I think Daily Mail interviewed an addict out of the Pennsylvania jail that was just released, right? And that addict said, I heard Bryan Kohberger screaming and ranting and telling people he's going to cut him with a knife. You don't take addicts' word and put them on the news, because I'm going to speak for myself, in active addiction, my words are meaningless. The only thing that I care about is my next hit, when I can use next. And any lie that I have to achieve to get there, I won't think twice about it in active use.
Right. And so that's very interesting as well. When we look at this video itself, we just got started. We haven't finished the whole thing yet. But when we see and listen to this interview, the fact that someone has to go and get power of attorney, that says a lot about where they are, how deep they are in their, in their own, in their addiction, how deep they are in needing someone to help them pull themselves towards recovery. And then, of course, now she's on this show. Is this the best thing, right? And also, I do want to say this too. Obviously, she is going through probably the worst pain in the world. On top of it, losing her daughter in such a horrific way and all that. God only knows if that can tip you back towards addiction. Absolutely. It can definitely do that. Depression, tragic events like this, unthinkable things like this can definitely make you go back towards something even harder sometimes. So, but at the same time, it does say something about, it also proves, let me just say this too, it also proves a level of connection and relationship that she had with Ann Taylor. So even if we didn't know that that Ann Taylor was representing her since 2017, this still shows proof positive that this woman trusted, this mother trusted Ann Taylor enough for her to be power of attorney to get her into rehab. That says something as well. That says that they have a deep relationship, or at least the relationship has been, there's been a foundation built within that relationship for years, guys. You don't just give that to anybody, even just any lawyer too. That would be insane. Okay. That's obvious that there is something deeper that was going on between Kara and Ann Taylor here. All right. So I want to say that too. Let's continue on though, because there's obviously a whole lot more. Oh, and Nerdy, the audios, I didn't receive them. Can you send them again?
Yes, sir. Do you want them via Twitter? I sent the link via email, but I'll shoot it over again. I'll send the link to Twitter.
Yeah, just send it that way. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, guys, let's rock and roll.
And no one has reached out to you from the public defender's office to help you navigate next steps?
No.
Have you been in communication with the police and prosecutors about the next step in this process and where you might fit in?
No.
And do you want that? Do you want to be in communication with them to understand what's happening and what they're going to be doing as they move forward in prosecuting him?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So no one has reached out to you?
No. Not the prosecutors anyway, no.
Who have you spoken with?
I've honestly, just media has been getting a hold of me.
Do you feel like you're being left out of this process?
A little bit, yeah.
Had you ever heard the name Bryan Kohberger before?
No, I have not. No.
And do you know of any connection at all that he might have had with your daughter, Xana?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that she had any connection with him. He's quite a bit older than all of them, and all of their friends. Really, I mean, they didn't really hang out with a lot of older people. So I don't know if they knew him, or I mean, they could have, because he did attend school at WSU, which is another thing. My oldest daughter Jasmine attends school at WSU. And so the fact that the law enforcement knew who he was from the get-go and didn't warn us to keep Jasmine home from school, that just, I'm just beside myself.
And Jasmine was at WSU for the whole 7-week period,
Yes.
from the murders to the arrest. She was there the whole time.
Yes, yes.
What's her reaction to this then?
I haven't spoken with her about it yet, but I mean, I can only imagine, you know. She was adamant about going to school. She wasn't going to let this keep her from going to school. But I think it would have been different had she known that Xana's killer was going to school with her.
From what you know, no connection that you know of anyway between Kohberger and Xana. Do you think it's possible that he may have connected with Xana and Maddie through the Mad Greek restaurant where they worked?
That is a possibility. I mean, I'm sure they connected with a lot of people that way, and that could very well be how they connected with him.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, and that's obviously part one here, guys. And that's part one. And obviously, they're going to be asking her the questions that I just asked you guys, obviously, because let's keep it real. There are those theories and those, I don't know, they're theories, rumors, theories, however you guys want to call it, okay? Because obviously, I'm not trying to throw shade on any content creator that has had these phone calls or anything of that sort. Not at all. Okay. No one should be going after, in any negative way, going after Drunk Turkey Show. I'll say that out loud. And definitely not Chronicles of Olivia. There are just places that these phone calls were taking place. Okay. And of course, it's just a perspective. Is it showing proof positive of everything? No, because there's no actual proof of these things, right? It's just hearsay. But obviously, you know for a fact that Ashley Banfield's going to be asking those kind of questions right off the bat because of those theories that are circulating throughout the internet. And if anybody's been keeping a close watch or a semi-inquisitive eye towards this whole case, you've heard the trap house theory. You've heard the drug theory. Okay. And now that you have a mother who is looking at some serious charges, one of them happens to be drug trafficking charges, guys. This is not just possession of recreationals, it's the trafficking of recreationals. That is a serious thing, right? So I can understand why Ashley's asking these questions and wondering about a connection, wondering about a relationship, right? But what are your thoughts on that, Nerdy? You're still muted.
In terms of the relationship, I think that's what everyone is digging. You see that with that Mad Greek restaurant, ex-employee making a statement, then quickly coming out refuting it. Everyone's looking for the connection here because this doesn't. I think a lot of people have a hard time grasping what occurred here, right? But people are saying very different things.
And what about the details that there's?
Sorry about that. Just went off.
If you're stalking an individual, that motive is that individual, right? You're stalking them because you're infatuated, whatever. There's reasons that people have come out and said Kaylee was a main victim here, his main target, but if he was really stalking them, like police said 12 times before this, he would know Kaylee didn't live there and she was going back home, and there were safer ways if he was stalking one individual to commit this crime. And I think that's what's driven everyone so mad is the absence of a motive here, and people are like Banfield. And I think Bryan even came on. Look, people may feel some type of way about this woman coming on Banfield, but what would people be feeling if this woman reached out to News Nation and News Nation denied her the ability to talk? People would be in outrage too. There's no good answers here for this case. It's a lack of motive right now, based on the very limited information we have, and people's minds have gone just like you and I. Is this a trap house? Is there a relationship? Was there something more here? Was this roommate concealing? Was this 8-hour delay because you had to clean the trap house before police got there because there were so many drugs there? We could basically speculate and ruminate all day. The reality is we won't know until more information is released.
Yes, and the rumination's real, y'all. I mean, the amount of speculation, the amount of people who have been conspirizing, as I like to call it, all right, theorizing and conspirizing, it still doesn't give us the full answers of what actually happened. Let's be real. Let's remember. All of us were looking at Joe Vidot or Joe Vido. We were looking at Jack D. We were looking at Jack S. We were even going, who's Adam? Like crazy, right? We're all losing our doggone minds over this stuff. And guess what? None of them, at least so far, have been connected to this tragedy. Some random dude in Pullman, Washington, who happens to have studying to get his PhD in criminology and criminal justice, a wiry, skinny looking guy by the name of Bryan Kohberger is our culprit right now, our alleged assailant right now. That's all we have. So, and so that shows how crazy and how off the rails this case has gone, right? And I feel like the more we can throw out conspiracies and speculations and all that, the more we're going to be completely wrong. The more off the target we're going to be. I mean, just give it some time, it's going to get insane. But there's another part. This is part 2. Wanted to show this to you guys as well. Let's take a listen to this. Let's rock and roll.
And what about just the details? That there's so many missing details, so much mystery still surrounding what happened, in that house. Right. And the 2 surviving roommates. Have you had a chance at all to speak with the 2 surviving roommates about what they witnessed, at least in the middle of the night and the next morning?
No, I haven't got to speak with them at all. So yeah, there is a lot of questions.
What about the other family members of the other kids? Have you had a chance to talk to them?
No. No.
Is that something you'd like to pursue?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I haven't yet.
Real quick, I do have a question though. And I just have a lot. I mean, one, I can only imagine what what Kara's going through, what Xana's mother's going through, and definitely my condolences and all that. But I keep also wondering, how far removed is she? Like, how close is she to this case? Or how far removed is she from this case? Because I feel like all the families have been fairly, for the most part, in connection with each other. I mean, I would assume, right, that they would have more of a rapport within these families, because they're all sharing the same tragedy. So it does make me wonder how closely connected she is to this, because it almost seems like she's been out of the conversation. From what we heard in the very beginning of this interview, where she's like, I just found out about this, about the lawyer situation, through a friend of mine through Reddit. So it does make me wonder, how connected is she to this whole thing and this whole tragedy? What are your thoughts, Nerdy?
I can speak from an addict's point of view, and I'd say she's probably not connected at all, right? Her main, it looks like her main goal since at least 2017, probably a lifetime, has been chasing this high. And I say that with all due respect, because I'm an addict, and I'm going to be battling that for the rest of my life. And when you hear these excuses, right, from an addict, when you decide to get clean and sober, your sponsor or someone smart around you will tell you, it's time to start taking accountability for the things that you've done. And for me to stretch and say, look, this predicament that I'm in, these charges and this trafficking, this is really horrible. And I'm going to blame it because my public defender got swapped out, or whatever you may come on national news saying. That I can appreciate that as an addict, but at the same token, I'm not really going to take anything this woman says with a grain of salt. But I do believe she's been disconnected. I do believe that part, because as an addict, we know, anyone in this chat room as an addict can tell you, your main focus is chasing that high. It's not your children. It's not the world. It's not what's going on around you. It's about chaos and substances. And that's where this woman is right now. And she's at a point where she's looking to blame anything and everything. And it's sad because she's also a victim, right? Her daughter has died. It looks like, while she's in active addiction, and she can't process that correctly. And so she's looking for ways to make us think about it.
Right.
At the end of the day, I just want this woman clean. I want her to heal. I want her to process this tragedy like I'd want for any other fellow addict. In active addiction, you don't go on the news and start griping at everything that's wrong with the system until you fix what's right with you.
Nerdy said it. Let's continue.
I mean, I wouldn't mind speaking with them.
How are you managing?
I have my friends around me, and honestly, I watch a lot of Xana's TikTok videos, and that helps. But yeah, I'm managing as best as you can,
Is there something you can tell us about Xana, the girl you knew?
Xana was tough. She was strong. She was funny. She just couldn't make you smile, no matter what. And she just had a quirkiness about her that not a lot of people possess, that kind of talent to be able to light up a room like she did.
I feel like I see that in her social media. I didn't have the luxury of meeting Xana, but I feel like just looking at her social media, there's such a carefree spirit, and she definitely looks like she had a real tinge of being the comedian, in the room. Did I catch her right?
Okay.
Did I describe her right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you can see from her TikToks, just how funny she was, and how carefree and just funny. She was funny.
Are you going to be okay moving through this process? It could take years in order to see justice finally arrive. Are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I think I will be. I mean, I hope so. I just got to take it one day at a time, and I don't think I'll ever get over losing one of my children. That will never go away. I don't think that the grief ever gets any better, really. I just think that she would want all of us to live our best life and remember the good things about her.
That is Karen Northington, the mother of Xana Kernodle, speaking.
My heart breaks for her because, you're sitting here watching a woman as a fellow addict. When was the last time she even saw her daughter with all these arrests and addiction? She's not mentioning any recent memories, just that her daughter is funny, and it breaks your heart because addiction will do exactly what you're seeing here. And this woman has a long road of recovery. I hope people in the community can, and let me know how we can help, collectively and collaboratively come together with ways that are meaningful to help her out, and not a means of cash. One of the things I remember in getting sober is my sponsor would not ever give cash out. There were gift cards for food, and even sometimes we'd sell those gift cards at half cost, right, to feed our addiction. But I really hope this woman gets sober, gets clean, and her heart heals.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the sad part, because my heart goes out. I mean, I echo the same things as well as what you're saying here, because it is devastating to lose your own child, especially maybe one that you may have a close connection with or you may be estranged from. No matter what, it's still your child. It is sad to see something like this. Of course, when someone is in the middle of trying to heal themselves and then have this kind of tragedy happen on top of it. And so the only thing is that I hope and pray that Kara finds strength right now and doesn't lean towards her addictions. She leans towards sobriety, staying clean, whether or not she is in rehab or not. That's the thing I hope she does. But I know that when one gets upset, when one feels like they're in the darkness and they can't get out, they tend to go even deeper into the darkness rather than trying to find the light. So I hope that she is taking the opposite route, okay? Taking the bright side rather than the dark side. That's what I hope for as well. So I agree with you 110%, Nerdy, because this is someone who's hurting. Nerdy, go ahead.
And I do, and I've said this publicly on Twitter and YouTube. I think that Xana and Ethan hold a key more so than Maddie and Kaylee. I think everyone has gravitated towards Kaylee and Maddie, and I'll just tell you real quick why I think so.
No, please. I'm just so happy that you said that, because I feel like we have media, everything has been absolutely obsessed, and I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but we haven't heard anything about Ethan. We're finally hearing something about Xana, but like nothing. We've been Maddie, Kaylee, and Maddie. It's so frustrating. What were you going to say, Nerdy? Please.
Just in terms of psychology, I've looked at, we've all seen his past Tinder dates come out, and even his sister's profile matches Xana's profile more closely. I'll say, everyone has their own preference, but Xana is a beautiful woman, but she's also a beautiful woman that he can't have. She's taken by Ethan. I've said this from the beginning, knowing Ethan was in that house. This was a very tall individual. He was stacked. He's done cross country sports his entire life. I just feel like this was more geared towards those two individuals, probably Xana. But I can't help thinking everyone from the beginning has gravitated towards Kaylee and Maddie. They were single, they were available, they were beautiful girls. But in terms of what Xana did, I believe she was in marketing. I think they did outreach out to the Pullman area for marketing. I just see more connections there. That's all.
Interesting. Now, you never know. You may be entirely right. We got to remember, we don't know. We should talk about this too briefly. There's obviously been that People's Magazine article about him going into the Mad Greek to eat to grab some pizzas, some vegan pizzas there two times or so. And this is the same spot that Maddie and Xana worked at, right? Now, what's interesting is that we don't know if that one's absolutely true or not, but that could be, if it is true, that could be a place where he had seen Xana or Maddie or even Kaylee walking in randomly and just was triggered, found the person or the persons, found his targets. Why them? I don't know, right? We still don't know, but it is very interesting. And it is interesting how the narrative has been very Kaylee and Maddie and not so much about Ethan and Xana, when there's still connections over there on that end, or possible connections over on that end too. So the part that you said about going in marketing in Pullman, that's some information I didn't know about. Do you mind expanding on that?
I'll wait for folks. I know Eva's in the chat. I want to make sure it's the right girl. One of the girls was in a marketing program at Idaho. That marketing program was part of class studies, and then they did real life experience work out in the field. So they'd go out to Pullman as part of their outreach. I want to make sure Xana was the right girl. There may have been two that were doing that. Yeah, let's have clarity before that information is fact. One of them was at least doing marketing though. On the other stuff, I think, the restaurant coming out and saying the ex-employee, I don't see any reason why that ex-employee would lie, right? And then the restaurant refuting it. I do believe that information is true. I do believe that restaurant as a local would be committed towards justice, and justice sometimes means no information leaking, right? This is still an active investigation. And as a local, as someone that's invested in that community, they want justice more than you and I can guarantee you that. And so I think them refuting that is, and saying, look, wait until it comes from police or court documents. I think it's true. I think that they're refuting it due to the gag order and not wanting to compromise the case, but I do believe it's true. Plus, my mom read People magazine, Pascal. It's got to be true. That was like her newspaper growing up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some people who are sitting here going, "Hey, that's a reputable source. Like, why would they, or periodical? Why would they go out of their way to make this stuff up or to lie with this kind of stuff just for a few clicks?" Me personally, I think that this is. I think that I'm sitting on the fence. It could be the truth. Could be just some disgruntled employee just being a jerk and saying, "F it, I'm breaking our pact as workers because I don't work there anymore. I'm a former employee, so F the Mad Greek, and here's the truth." And then the Mad Greek owner going, "Oh my Lord, we don't need all this drama. We don't need all this negative attention coming over to us. We don't need people going over to our restaurant like tourists saying this is where BK ate his food at. We don't need any of that BS. So I'm going to throw out this statement really quick. And sure, maybe I'll get a lot of flack for lying right now, but they'll hear the truth more when we go into trial. But that also, at the end of the day, bites them in the butt because why lie? No one's going to matriculate. No one's going to go, and be a patron over at the Mad Greek if they're lying to the public's faces. So it's a risk if they are lying. That statement is lying. So I'm kind of on the,
we have to account for Bryan at least 10 or 11 more times, right? Warren said, or police said 12 times they picked him up around the victims. I can't imagine all 12 times around that house. So there's got to be other locations. And
Absolutely.
Moscow seems like a obvious place for the journalists on the ground where food and shopping is done. So if you're in Pullman, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm on the fence with you. We've gotten two conflicting statements. I'm going to lean on People, though. My mom read People.
And then also, I will say this too. In the probable cause affidavit, they talked about a coffee shop that they picked him up at a coffee shop, the same place where they were apparently. If my recollection is serving me right here. So I mean, when you see stuff like this, it's like, come on. There's plenty of other spots I'm sure he went to grab a coffee, do some yoga, practice his kickboxing, God knows what. You know what I mean? So it's a small town. I'm sure that they've crossed paths in many different ways. And we'll see what those 12 spots are eventually. Definitely during this trial for sure. But
just for clarity, it was Kaylee that had the marketing job. I don't want that getting out.
It was Kaylee. Okay. Thank you so much. Kaylee had the marketing job. So just that correction really quick, guys, before you guys start running the muck and starting putting out the wrong information. It was Kaylee, not Xana, which is also still very interesting, and the possibilities are endless. And you got to remember, college may be big, but it is small, okay? And, you can run into people a lot, especially when you got two colleges that are that close to each other. I'm sure there was a lot of mixing going on, a lot of mixers, little parties and stuff like that, just mixing these students together all the live long day. So we'll see what happens here. But Nerdy, you said something about you have some audio for us. I was going to see if we could try it through through your thing. If it doesn't work, then I'll just throw it up on mine. Okay. But you apparently have this as well. What's this all about?
Yeah, I want to give it context before we start playing it. Yesterday when
I don't know if you want
Xana's, I'm going to pause it here real quick before we're fighting for control. So yesterday when Xana's mom did the interview,
I'm just muting it really quick. Sorry, I was just muting it really quick. Go ahead. So you were saying?
No worries. Yesterday when Xana's mom did this interview on News Nation, there were people that literally came out right away and said we're abandoning News Nation. People that I interact with on a daily basis on Twitter, people really especially addicts, felt like this was exploiting her. And so Sleuthy, good friend of ours, held the spaces right after. And Brian Etten jumped on, who works for News Nation, because I even tagged News Nation and said, look, this is you're exploiting a woman who's in active addiction, and exactly what for reasons I just explained on the show. And so Brian jumped in and explained it from their perspective, which I think helped a lot of people. I think that it's important to note everyone has a job. You're a creator. I'm a creator. Brian's a journalist. Everyone has a job to do. And I think this puts it into perspective for people.
Interesting. Okay, let's take a listen, guys. Oh, shoot. I put it on mute. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I can play it, I guess?
Yes, sir. It's available for both of us. Yeah.
Is it queued up exactly where you want it to be, or can I put it?
I chopped it for you, so you could just hit play right from the beginning and it'll
Okay,
play.
cool.
Yep.
Let's go.
And wasn't want to go ahead. I don't know if you want
that I came in.
Hey,
Can you guys
I don't know
hear
if
me?
you heard.
Oh,
Oh,
yes. My goodness.
Oh, hey. Sorry.
Hey.
Hey. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was just listening. I was just interested in like what everyone was saying about the interview. That was kind of the reason that I came in. So like it wasn't my interview, so I was reading some of the comments. There's a lot of questions about like how Ashley got the interview. I mean, I honestly don't know because I'm in South Carolina doing the Murdoch trial, but you know, I was just thinking to myself, I mean, I understand a lot of people seem to be upset about it, but, and again, I don't know the back and forth that happened because I'm here and I wasn't there, but I'm just thinking like, it seems wrong for us not to allow her to tell her story. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that.
Hey, Brian.
I agree with her telling her story. I disagree with her being on camera because of how, and I'm not angry with you. Actually, I did say before earlier that your integrity is very intact.
And we were very glad that you did do the interview, Brian.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, if she had contacted me and asked me to interview her,
could have been handled differently.
I think, I mean, I would feel, like, who am I to tell her that she can't tell her story?
Brian, I said that at the beginning to people, like, once you take a deep breath and, like, I think it's like in some way you're exploiting an addict, not you, I'm saying News Nation or whoever's doing the interview. But on the same scope, it's the same as getting Candace Wells or Don Wells up while in active use or any other person. So I think that, yeah, I feel some type of way about getting her up there, and other people do too. But I don't know that I'm. There's other people that have said they're boycotting News Nation. I don't think that I'm boycotting News Nation. I don't know if it's a wise move putting someone up there. I sort of put it up there as this article that came out from Pennsylvania when Brian was there, and someone interviewed an addict or what looked to be an addict, and they said, look, Brian was screaming and ranting and threatening people. Right.
Yeah, that was just wrong. I mean, that was just like a totally 100% wrong, like just factually incorrect. Like again, I'm just thinking this too because I wasn't. Like I didn't talk to her, so I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I mean, I saw one comment like, "There's no way that we wouldn't pay for an interview. That would just never happen." I mean, so that didn't happen. I know that she's been in touch with I mean, she was on Banfield a while ago, and she's been in touch with one of the producers there who has stayed in touch with her regularly. So. I was just thinking, if she had contacted me and I hadn't been in touch with her for a while and all of these stories of the last couple of days, like I think pretty much every news outlet covered the situation with the lawyer. And now she wants to tell her part of it. Like, I don't know. It just feels weird being like, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to do that,
And
so very, very interesting. Because I can understand I can see both sides of the fence here. Okay. I could definitely see both sides. Because it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. Obviously, she agreed to get onto this interview. She agreed to talk. She may be in active addiction right now, but at the same time, the focus of the conversation recently, the lights and the spotlight has kind of veered towards Ann Taylor and her not representing Xana Kernodle's mother. Now, I understand that she's obviously going through some situations. She is clearly hurting. And as you guys say, she's been in active addiction. But if she was not in active addiction, but she was just grieving, they would still have this same conversation. Obviously, it would be tailored a little bit differently, but there would be still a conversation with this grieving mother, especially if the focus is on her too. You see what I'm saying? So I do understand the frustration, absolutely, because this could trigger her even more. This could make things worse for her, absolutely. But I do appreciate Bryan Enton. You know, I mean, obviously, I wasn't in that conversation, but I do appreciate him hopping on and talking and listening and hearing out what everybody was saying. But I guess that's just kind of where I feel about that. I can see where it is. Yes, maybe they should have waited, but then obviously it is a hot topic. Everyone's wanting to know, and this is the source, right? This is someone speaking on behalf of it. And given the fact that she didn't even know until it was told to her that day is pretty shocking, in my personal opinion. But Nerdy, I mean, you know, you got the floor. Let's, let me hear your thoughts, outside of this Spaces conversation you had with Bryan Enton.
I think I appreciate Bryan, doing responsible journalism and coming in and interacting and explaining their side. I think that's important.
Right.
I think they heard us, right? I think a good middle ground for this would be having her interview audio only, or a news producer saying, look, we just saw the state that she's in. We see a guitar in the back. We see she's coming in from the car. Let's get her on a recorded session for tomorrow when she's in let's pay for a hotel room where she can do this and it looks a little better. I think there is a number of different ways they could have made this production better.
You know what? I absolutely agree with you on that. Because shoot, I just took it down. Dag now. Of course, when you start talking about it, man, I take the doggone thing down. But let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the setup here. Now, let's keep it real. Every other person that we've seen so far, okay, we have seen, as far as the interviews that they've had with the parents and all that stuff, it has never been in a car with luggage in the background, it looks like, and a guitar sticking out from in the behind her. It seems like she's still driving, or someone is driving this car. Like, it's still in motion whilst her doing this interview with Ashley Banfield. And for a fact, if they really wanted to do something, they could have had her go and do this interview in a room in someone's house or something, with a plain background, with decent lighting, and keep it straight, simple, and still get this exclusive. But I feel like I could see where you're coming from, Nerdy, where it's kind of we need to get this exclusive right now, right? And it doesn't matter by any means necessary. It doesn't matter if it's bad lighting. It doesn't matter if she's in the car with the seatbelt on. At least she's practicing, driving carefully, right? She's buckled up, driving safety rules. That's great. But at the same time, I can see where some people would be upset about this, right? So yeah, but even so, you can tell it's like we need to strike while the iron is hot. And I get it that when it comes to journalism like this, it is that kind of situation. Like, we have seen, hold on. That's weird. We have seen multiple interviews where Bryan Enton is just got a random camera off on the side of a dashboard, and him sitting in the car holding a cell phone up to his lapel microphone and getting an interview with. Let's try that again. Can you hear me?
I got disconnected or bumped up.
Yeah.
Roblox.
No, it's all good. This whole thing just completely just ish the bed. But I do understand like how maybe some people will feel some type of way about the setup.
I don't know if Pascal is here or if you guys can still hear me. I lost him.
I'm here.
Okay, I see it black. Oh, there you are there.
Here I am. It's just losing his doggone mind. I don't know why.
Here for it.
What the heck is going on right now? But what I was trying to say is, and everyone hit the number one. Let me make sure you guys can hear me out there too. But this is the reason why I think a lot of people are feeling some type of way, and I do understand it, right? But I do understand the need of going right now, right? It's the need of this is hot right now. We need to jump on this strike while the iron is hot. So let's get her. Doesn't matter where she is, if she's in a house, if she's down on the street, whatever. We're going to get it now because we need to get that exclusive guerrilla style. And I think that's what's going on here, what we're seeing here with this. But I can see how other people are feeling some type of way about this. Maybe they could have. I mean, obviously, Brian Ensign's covering the Murdaugh cases right now, but maybe they could have brought somebody else out to Idaho to have a sit down exclusively with her and make it a little bit more professional. That could have been it too, right? But I think that they were just trying to strike while the iron's hot. But I do understand that frustration, right? And giving her the respect and the professionalism that I think the other three families have gotten whenever they've interviewed Maddie's parents, Kaylee's parents, my Lord, and Ethan's parents even, when they've done some interviews as well. So, we don't know her. Go ahead.
I think a 12-hour delay, right? We have so much time between now and the end of June for this. A simple 12-hour delay. But I will say, what other news? Like we chose. I'll speak for myself. I don't want to say we, but I chose News Nation because at a time when COVID was hitting, that's all you heard about in CNN, and everything was so divided. And I do believe they do a good job of being sort of in the middle. But what other news organization is going to have a correspondent and journalist pop into a spaces and interact and say, look, we're going to try to make it better. I think that's all we can do as content creators. You, myself, Brian, News Nation, we're doing our best, right? 5 years ago, I may have thought it was okay to pop a camera in an addict's face to get some views. I no longer think that's the case. We learn, we evolve, we do better. And I think them partaking in the conversation to say we're going to try to do better, that's important. That's good and sufficient to me.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Absolutely, they're listening. They heard you guys out, and of course, that's the only thing you can do is grow and learn from it and do better. Right? Even myself, I've had some amazing interviews, amazing guests on the show, and I've had some really crappy ones too. And you learn from those. You go, okay, next time I'm not going to have a person, video chat with me while they are operating heavy machinery. Meaning, like, I'm not going to have them go stream live with me while they're driving a doggone car. Maybe not the best idea. Okay, signals drop, etc., and also that's not safe for them at all. But then you learn. You grow and you go, okay, so certain certain levels of certain things that I can and can't do, certain things that I will allow and will not allow from this point on. And I think when it comes to, you're right, when it comes to something like Ashley Banfield, let's keep it real. It's Ashley Banfield, guys. I mean, this is, the newer version of Nancy Grace. I know I'm sorry, nerdy. I'm sorry, but she is kind of the newer generation of the Nancy Grace kind of realm, the true crime realm. So, yeah, striking while the iron's hot, but maybe just adjusting a few things, adjusting that lens just a little bit so that there's a level of respect and professionalism from that point on. So hopefully Banfield and them understand it and grow from that and do more, you know. But I do appreciate them having the conversation nonetheless, because I think that was it was definitely a good conversation. It did show that she doesn't know this guy herself, so it does debunk, because people are still asking in the chats about, was the house of this and that and the third, and was there connections between Xana's mom and Bryan Kohberger because of this? She's looking at some trafficking, y'all, some trafficking charges right now. That is some serious ish. So I understand people trying to do the math, okay, and put out these speculations and theory and conspiracy theories, but that doesn't automatically mean that she has any connection with this guy at all. She even asked her in the interview, "Is there any connection? Do you know this dude?" And she basically said, "I don't know this dude from Adam. I don't know this guy from a can of paint." And I think that's one of the things now we can leave and put to bed now. Those theories of, because of a past, relationships and addictions towards drugs, there must be a connection with Xana's mom and Bryan Kohberger, and that's the reason why she's not representing, Xana's mom anymore. I think we can finally put that theory to bed now. You agree?
I agree. And Nancy Grace, in her own way, said, "Sorry, Pascal." She came out in like the past week and a half and said, "Nerdbird Mafia is not a disgrace." And she signed it even with her initials, NG. So we put that on a t-shirt. I got my Twitter account back this week. So yeah, we're excited.
I know. I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's nice to see you back at it with the regular, back to the regular account. You know what I'm saying? Which is really, really dope. But real quick, yeah, let's talk about that. Where can people go and find you, follow you, all that stuff? Because I know a lot of people going, "Hey, who is this man?" So how do they follow you, bro?
Nerdy Addict. So it's nerdy_addict on Twitter. Back to that account. Nerdy Addict on YouTube. Nerdy Addict on TikTok. Currently covering, obviously everyone's going to be focused on Idaho, but there's obviously the Murdaugh murders in South Carolina that Brian's covering. Here in Jacksonville, they just made an arrest yesterday for, he was a Microsoft executive that was assassinated, essentially. He was driving with his 2.5-year-old daughter, driving through Jacksonville. There was a tire in the middle of the road, and they made an arrest yesterday. So I'm covering that right now. We're waiting. We really think that obviously it's a conspiracy to murder charge. So this man that they have, that they believe committed the crime, everyone's waiting for the other shoe to fall on 2 more arrests. So we're actively watching that. But to answer your question, Nerdy Addict everywhere.
Yeah, Nerdy Addict everywhere. Please go and follow him. Yeah, that Microsoft employee that ended up, getting gunned down.
Jared Brightigan. Yeah, Jared Brightigan. He's got his Xana Fernandez. She zoomed off to West Richmond, Washington, as soon as this occurred. Now it turns out her husband, Mario Fernandez, he owns a bunch of real estate. He rented out the house to the guy that was arrested yesterday. So the hitman, the husband of the ex-wife, rented out that home and owned it. Then sold it right quick when this guy got arrested in August. So the guy was already in custody. They rearrested him. He was showed up for his arraignment this morning in Duval County Court. No bond, but we're following that one closely. Obviously, it's close to home. So.
Wow. And really quick, and that's obviously very interesting information, because obviously there are a lot of things going on outside of this BK case. And of course, you got to remember, the BK case doesn't really kick back on until June 26, y'all. So yeah, it's not like we're going to have all of that. We're going to be spending 6 months talking about Bryan Kohberger. But these big hits that keep happening for now, these pieces of information that are very interesting and strange are popping off and bringing up a lot of questions, understandably, right? But sooner or later, y'all going to be wanting to talk about and have conversations about something else. So definitely, you got to check out Nerdy Attic right here on YouTube. All right. So please go check him out. It's at Nerdy Attic. Okay. Piece
Just
of
like
cake.
that. Pascal, we appreciate you being a friend from the beginning. I don't even think I had 1,000 followers when I started joining your show on YouTube. And I hope to interact with you in a way in the coming year that brings content right to your viewers. So if there is a case that we're out on the ground, I can't do a show like this and point the camera at something on the ground. And hopefully we're able to interact a little more this coming year and bring a view to your viewers that's a little more personal.
Boots on the ground. I mean, one thing is that's one thing I'd love to have happen here soon. Getting those kind of boots on the ground, investigative reporter type things where they're out there, they're interviewing or they're capturing that moment with their own, with their own camera, with their own stuff, and interviewing people right there. So that is absolutely a goal for me to get to. For sure. That is a dream, yo. That is a straight up dream. But yeah, man. So thank you. Definitely. I know that there's some stuff going on in your neck of the woods right now with this Microsoft executive, I think. And definitely any information about that, I'd love to be able to put that information out here on the show as well. So we should talk more. Definitely. So I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, I appreciate you having me. I do got to run and go. But on the other side, when we're not doing cases, I love what you're doing with behavioral health, suicide awareness. I know a lot of people on TikTok, YouTube. You're allowed to say the word. A lot of people use unalive. I think steering away from the word and using other words adds to the stigma. But nonetheless, I love what you're doing for suicide awareness. I'm wearing my suicide awareness sweater here with the heart and the semicolon.
I love it.
Keep doing you, keep being you, and keep on, man. Love you.
Love you too, man.
And keep facing the light, man.
Always. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, and have a good one. All right. Talk to you soon. So, first off, I want to say thank you to Nerdy Attic for coming on. Again, guys, go and check him out. By all means, go and check out his YouTube channel. Find him on Twitter as well. Okay. He's incredibly informative, and he keeps me up to date on a lot of other cases that I still am watching, keeping a watchful eye on from afar, from the nosebleed seats, as you know, I like to call it. But this guy is really awesome and very informative. So do not be shy. Follow him over on his Twitter. Follow him over on his YouTube. That'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. Because he has been keeping a close eye on a lot of really much needed conversations and cases that are out here for sure. But guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Raven McCall, thank you so much. Yeah, no, he's awesome. It's just he's been busy. We've been busy over here. So getting him on today was a wonderful thing. Especially, he is someone who is well versed in the world of addiction and all that. And he's really amazing dude. And of course, it's awesome to have him on here to chop it up with all of us and just bring some light into this such a dark conversation. Okay. But again, I appreciate everybody for being here, being a part of the conversation. Again, like I always say, if you guys weren't here, I'd be talking to a wall. Okay. So I appreciate all y'all for being here and being so amazing. Please do me a favor. Do not forget to hit that like button down below. Crush it, make it scream out your name. All right. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button. All right. We're almost at 90,000. Like we're almost in the 90s. I want to get to the 90s. Like the 80s are cool. You know what I'm saying? But the 90s were fun. You feel me? Come on. Help me get to the 90s. All right. So let's get to the 90s so we can get to the 100,000s. All right. We're almost there, y'all. We are almost there. Okay. So Don't be shy. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that like button. All right. And I'll see you guys a little bit later on today. I think I got a pop-up video for you guys and a live later on this evening. So be on the lookout for it. There are some conversations we most definitely need to have. Yeah, we need to talk. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all. It's been amazing. Shout out to Nerdy Addict for being on here. Without him, we would have just been watching an interview, and that's about it. Okay? So I appreciate his commentary, and I'll be talking to you guys very soon. All right? Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys very, very, very soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.